Okay, so you've probably heard a lot about the Lindsay Clancy case. I know I have, and it is absolutely wild, the differing opinions we have on the internet. For one, this has become extremely politicized, which is kind of ridiculous to me, actually super ridiculous. It's like, why is everything politicized these days? I don't know. I feel like this type of groupthink is extremely unproductive, but that's what always happens, right? So anyway, after speaking to a knowledgeable woman, my wife, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of both sides of the case. So, women who support Lindsay Clancy in general seem crazy, okay? To most men, at least, but a lot of people, they seem absolutely crazy. And some of them genuinely are, okay? Some of them genuinely are crazy. And I would say anybody who admits that she killed her kids, but would absolve her of any guilt is, I mean, like, on the stupid juice, okay? Like, you have to be, it's like reprehensible thoughts right there. So let's just take those people and let's just push them over here, because I don't think that that's the majority of people, okay? I don't think that's the majority of women. What I think that most women think that would say that they support Lindsay Clancy in this trial is that the system failed her. And I'll just say that's a completely fair thing to be concerned about. Okay? Postpartum depression is a real thing. Hormones are dangerously out of whack. They're reaching levels that you probably never experienced before, especially if it's your first kid. A woman's body is going through shock, all while dealing with the extreme difficulty of motherhood. It's one of the hardest things to deal with, particularly that first month. If you know, you know. If you've had a child, you would know that first month is insanely hard. And imagining when my wife's parents had her dad had to go back to work in 2 weeks. He had a 2-week like baby bonding leave, and then he had to go back to work. And it's like now his wife is all alone dealing with a child who is extremely difficult. Their sleep patterns are extremely erratic. You get no sleep. I mean, this is terrible news for somebody who is really going through it, right? And a lot of these women are after giving birth. Completely fair. What's worth noting, though, is that of the women who report postpartum psychosis, which is the kind of situation we're dealing with, 50% of them were later diagnosed with full-on bipolar disorder. A history of bipolar disorder is actually one of the strongest known risk factors to having postpartum psychosis. It's legit an issue with the brain, right? It means you're predisposed to psychosis because of your bipolar disorder. Now, here's a bunch of weird things about the case that make it complicated, right? We'll start with her husband, Patrick. So, Patrick, you know, he's not completely innocent here. At least it doesn't seem like it. You know, a lot of people who, again, support Lindsay Clancy would say things like, she told him 2 months prior to this incident that she was having intrusive thoughts about hurting her children. And it was kind of weird to him. She said, like, when she said that, she would go from saying stuff like that and to just making the kid lunch again, like everything was normal. They wouldn't have any deep conversation after that, which, to me, there's some onus on Patrick there, right? I mean, that's a really concerning thing to say, but whatever. I wasn't there, right? Also, he left her alone with the kids, which caused this incident, which is negligence, right? If you had heard that your wife could do that, that's, I mean, some form of negligence. You'd have to admit that. Patrick worked from home, so he didn't leave all the time for work, but I'm sure he left Lindsay with the kids several times between that 2-month period, and nothing happened then. So I'm sure it was extremely surprising when it did happen, right? And there's several conspiracy theories about whether or not Patrick is the one who did it, which seem to be entirely like mumbo jumbo crazy shit. Like, that's exactly why we pushed those people earlier over there, because that's about in the realm of like crazy conspiracy theorists. Like, you would only believe this if you spent too much time on TikTok, and if you do, you're already pretty cooked, so you can stop watching this video now, buddy. Anyway, other people involved that you can say failed Lindsay. She spoke to several psychiatrists, all of whom didn't communicate with each other. They knew she was seeing several psychiatrists, they had access to her medical records, but they didn't communicate with each other. This means that she was wildly over-medicated. She was fluctuating a cocktail of antidepressants, sleep aids, and psychotics in a small 3-month window, which has to do something to your brain, right? If the psychiatrists had communicated with each other, they would have known and actually been able to do something about that. It just seems extremely odd that that's even possible, that you can prescribe medication to somebody without checking what medication they're already taking and prescribed. I mean, to be honest, some of this onus to me is on Lindsay too. Like, I know she's going through an extreme health crisis, but the fact that she didn't communicate to her psychiatrist that she was seeing multiple psychiatrists, or what medication she was already taking, I don't know. Maybe she did, but it seemed like large in part that she did not. There's one point though, and back to the point of negligence, Lindsay said she was doing extremely bad, so her psychiatrist sent her to be an inpatient at the hospital, and the hospital sent her away, saying that they wanted her to basically wean off of all the medication she was taking first and then come back to the hospital. The thing is, the psychiatrist never followed up after Lindsay didn't get admitted to the hospital. So if she had, she could have done something about that. I mean, that's extremely concerning that somebody who already shows signs of terrible mental health getting turned away from the hospital after you sent them there is something you should keep track of as a psychiatrist. Completely fair things to be concerned about. Now, if we move to Lindsay's side, something a little bit odd is that the first thing she did after attempting suicide is she was put into a hospital room, and her only form of communication was a whiteboard. The first thing she wrote on her whiteboard was she asked if her legs were broken, and she asked if she had a lawyer. She didn't ask about her kids. That's weird. Now, I know a lot of people think, oh, you know, she went through a lot, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, she's probably going through so much in her head. Her kid, if you are a mother, like a responsible mother, or a father, just a responsible parent in general, the first thing you would think, again, Lindsay said that when she went through psychosis, she doesn't remember any of it. She's complete blanked out, right? If you wake up in the hospital, you can't feel your legs, what the hell is going on? Wouldn't you ask about your children? It seems odd. It seems very odd and telling that she didn't ask about her children. But, you know, it's like I'm expecting somebody to play the perfect calculated game. It's like maybe she didn't ask by some, you know, miracle of a mistake. The other thing that I think is extremely important here is that she literally admitted to the murders. Like, I thought when I first was looking into this, I was thinking that she didn't, and that it was like up to a point of contention if she didn't. That's why people were even blaming Patrick in the first place. But she did. She did admit to the murders. So what the hell? Like, people are like off the crack pipe when talking about how Lindsay is completely guilt-free in this situation, because there are definitely people that are doing that. The amount of people who stood outside the court in pink expressing their full devotion to Lindsay, how she's innocent and this is just terrible, you know. It's like, dude, she killed her kids. And this is where I want to get into my opinion. People who have already committed heinous acts of violence like that, like killing your 3 children, the fact that people give a pass for compassion when they've already killed somebody because they couldn't control themselves is actually crazy. The fact that they can't control themselves is a reason to remove them from society. And I see if somebody is schizophrenic, for example, like they didn't choose to be schizophrenic, obviously. If they're taking their meds, they're able to control it, they should be part of society. But if they go off their meds or the meds aren't working and they kill somebody, okay, it's over. Okay, you're done. Like, you are a danger to society now. It's not like even if you get medicated, you could maybe come back and become a normal person, but that person is never coming back. The person you killed, their life is done because you couldn't control yourself. But people failed her. To me, those people should be charged too. Right? Like, her husband should be charged if he was negligent. Those psychiatrists should be charged if they were negligent. Even the hospital should be held liable for turning away a clearly troubled woman who was referred to be there as an inpatient. Referred by a psychiatrist, and they turned her away. They should be held liable for that. These people should absolutely be made an example of in order to show how important issues like this are. In order to exemplify the point that these problems should be taken seriously when somebody is having issues like that. A lot of women want this to be a signal for postpartum depression to be taken more seriously. And although I think this has started a huge conversation for doing so, it is going to have the exact opposite effect when people see psychotic woman, completely dissolving her of any guilt for literally murdering 3 innocent children. Many people are going to look at that, many men are going to look at that and be like, how could I ever trust a woman in the future who is able to put the lives of 3 children so much lower than themselves? Because what's happening is these women are putting themselves in Lindsay's shoes. They're feeling bad for her. And it's fair to feel bad for her. If she went through a psychotic episode, I feel bad for her. But the fact still remains that she killed her 3 kids. They're already dead. Even if she got medicated, just like I was saying earlier, even if she got medicated, that would not bring them back. And so because of that, I don't think she should ever be a part of society. But anyway, pretty contentious video. You know, not a very lighthearted video as usual. But you know, this is something that pissed me off. And so I wanted to yap about it a little bit. Let me know what you think in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. Have a nice night. Bye.